Empaths want to fix. Empaths want to heal. And believe it or not, I think Jung touched on this. They're kind of mirror reflections of each other. Usually empaths go through the same pain that narcissists went through. Okay, the abandonment, no love for their parents, becoming outcast, being betrayed, all that stuff. Narcissists, on the other hand, whereas the empath says, I don't want anybody to go through this. I want to help people so they don't have to experience this. Where the narcissist, on the other hand, decides, you know what? Somebody's got to pay for this. And it's like this constant, it's like two stars revolving around each other, but one star has to decide that I need to break away. And that's usually the empath.
Welcome to the Managing Mental Health podcast. Join us as we talk to leading psychologists about all areas of mental health, and we hear from real people that have overcome real experiences that can now give hope and encouragement for us all. I'm Jamie, social psychologist, author, and trauma recovery coach. Our guest today is Lewis Robinson. Lewis is a minister, father, and survivor who leads the Now movement and Church of Real Talk, a survivor-led platform built to turn pain into purpose. He created the Healing Library, Survivor Story Saturdays, and Tech Skills for Survivors workshops, all to help survivors of narcissistic abuse reclaim confidence and independence. Lewis speaks on breaking the trauma bond, navigating smear campaigns, and rebuilding identity after narcissistic abuse, which blends lived experience with accessible, trauma-informed tools. His upcoming book, Echo's Path, guides readers from surviving to thriving with practical steps and reflective exercises. Lewis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, to be able to speak to your audience, about this subject. Domestic narcissistic abuse is, anybody that's lived it, it's a horrible experience. And it just doesn't end there. It just continues on. And that's why it's so important that people have the tools to heal.
Yeah. It's people don't understand, especially if you haven't lived it. And a lot of times, even people going through it don't quite understand all of the ramifications and all of the areas of your life that it touches. And we'll get into a lot of that as we go.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely a very important topic. I'm very happy to have you here to discuss this. Let's start off with just give us a little bit of understanding, explanation. What is the Now movement? What does Now stand for?
Okay. So now I came up with that. No other way. That was something that I kept on saying to myself as I was going through my healing. I was like, I can't go back. Okay. There's no other way but forward. And that just stuck with me, because sometimes we have to give our minds that understanding that you have to burn the bridges. Once you find out what you're going through, you essentially have two choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can fall back, and that's dangerous on so many different levels. Or you can just make that decision, that defining decision. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to move forward with my life. I'm not going to basically internalize all of this trauma and all of this stuff. I'm going to move forward. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand. It's really a process every day,
Yeah. I think I don't remember this exactly, but I know when I worked in the domestic violence field, one of the statistics said that it was something like it takes a person on average 3 to 6 times to finally get out of an abusive relationship, because there's that back and forth. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people, even if they recognize there's something toxic or abusive, that they kind of go back and forth?
I think it's mainly because when you're dealing with a narcissistic abuser, it's a psychological problem. It's something that they can't resolve within themselves. They are a predator,
Mm,
and they play these mental mind games with their victims that constantly reel them in, that constantly make them doubt themselves, that constantly make them say, well, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I should have done this. And then they get reeled back in, and then the abuse starts over again. Once the predator knows that you're trapped, then it starts over again. And usually it becomes more intense. I was just it's strange because there's another reason. Most people that get involved in narcissistic abusive relationships, they can kind of call themselves empaths. Okay. And I was actually doing some stuff with Carl Jung. I was actually reading some stuff, and I was like, wow, this guy had great insights on this stuff. And I came to the conclusion that sometimes it's a vicious cycle.
mhm.
Before I put a name to it, I came to realize I was in a couple of narcissistic relationships. And I found that is because I'm empathetic. Empaths want to fix, empaths want to heal. And believe it or not, I think Jung touched on this. They're kind of mirror reflections of each other.
Mhm,
Usually, empaths go through the same pain that narcissists went through.
mhm.
Okay, the abandonment, no love from their parents, becoming outcast, being betrayed, all that stuff. Narcissists, on the other hand, whereas the empath says, I don't want anybody to go through this. I want to help people so they don't have to experience this. Where the narcissist, on the other hand, decides, you know what? Somebody's got to pay for this. And it's like this constant, it's like two stars revolving around each other, but one star has to decide that I need to break away. And that's usually the empath.
Yes, that I am like bubbling inside at that explanation because you're so right on at such a key point, and it's really hard for a person that's empathetic to understand why someone else is not empathetic and someone else is abusive and controlling and all of those traits, because like you said, they don't want someone else to go through that. They don't want someone else to hurt, you know. They want to help people, they want to help you feel better.
Yes.
But the
Yes.
narcissist is lacking in empathy almost
Mm-hmm.
always, and they have a difficult time not only understanding their partner or their friends or family or community, not understanding their feelings. They don't even
Mm,
understand their own. A lot of times they don't
exactly.
recognize, because like you said, theirs is a life of projection. Theirs is a life of outside validation so that they can be the top dog. They can
Mm,
get the most attention. They can get all of their wants and needs met by everybody around them, like almost like a parasite. But they don't even realize what's going on internally. That even when they get that
mm,
praise and that, you know, recognition, and even when their authority is recognized, and they're still not satisfied. But
no,
it's
never.
because of that wound inside, like you said, that comes from
Mm,
abuse and neglect and all those other things. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So I know that there's a lot of terms we kind of throw around in society, and sometimes people will say, "Oh, well, this person's a narcissist or that person's a narcissist," and they may not literally mean it or know what it means as a personality disorder.
Mhm.
What actually is a narcissist?
Well, you hit it right on the nose. Someone that constantly seeks validation. Okay, they can't exist without validation. Okay, because they're dealing with, I call it the character they drew in their mind. Okay, because they don't have a true sense of self as most people do. Okay, it's a projection of this thing they drew in their mind. So the
Mhm.
validation, the lack of empathy is one of the key points. Okay, they're very manipulative. Okay, that's where the whole gaslighting thing comes from.
Mhm.
Um, they rewrite. Not only do they constantly rewrite their reality, it's almost like having this a director and a script writer sitting next to each other as they're filming a movie, just writing out line by line. Not only do they create and distort their own reality, they tend to want to distort the reality of the victim. Okay.
Mhm.
Also, another thing is they feel entitled to everything. Okay, everything. There's no if someone can do it, they should be able to do it with no work, no effort whatsoever because they deserve it. They're very envious and jealous. Okay, and that's sad to have someone, again, that distortion of reality. They say out of one mouth, I love you. That's that mask. I love you. But 9 times out of 10, a narcissist is very jealous of you. They're very envious of you. And this is part of the reason why they want to destroy you. I think I caught 5 points out of the 9.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
usually that's all you need is those 5 points to be able to say, hey, listen, I'm dealing with a narcissistic abuser.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think there's five in terms of a clinical diagnosis for the disorder. There's five major points that have to be hit on.
Right.
And yeah, the lack of empathy, that sense of control, the manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
um, all those things. Yeah, you mentioned another important term that I think kind of gets thrown around a little bit that we might want to define for people, and that's gaslighting. You know, and
Oh,
you know, with social media, all these terms get thrown
it's,
around, and oh, this is that, that's this, but you know,
yeah,
these are people are really experiencing this stuff, and it's really
yeah.
hurting people. So, what's gaslighting then?
Gaslighting, based off of, I believe, the 1943 movie where a dude just wanted to get the insurance money and have his wife sent away to a mental institution. Gaslighting is the subtle erosion of facts. Okay, it's the subtle, and because they do it little by little. I mean, as I look back to my experiences, I found that it was very subtle in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, to make you doubt yourself. See, that's very important to them. They need you. It makes you easier to control. So it's lies. It's a distortion of reality. I'm trying to get this right so people understand it. Um, it's taking facts. It's taking truths that you already know and telling you that no, that's not the way it happened.
Mhm.
Now, deep down inside, you know, it's like I was there. That's what happened. And what they do is they just beat at you and tell you, no, that's not, you're mistaken. That's not how it happened. And then it becomes you're crazy. And when you get upset about it, which most people will, it's like, hey, listen, this is a fact right here, and well, either then you're being too emotional. Then it becomes,
Mhm.
well, once you bring out enough facts, then it becomes, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal. Or it's, and this slow erosion makes you begin to doubt yourself. And most importantly, the scariest part of it is you start looking for the facts to come from your abuser because you don't believe what happened anymore, just like that lady in Gaslight. I turned off the light. I know I turned off the light. No, you didn't. The light's been on all night. In fact, I watched you turn it on. And then you slowly start to doubt yourself. And I'm just gonna make this brief. I was speaking to someone online. It was an online chat, and it was about business, you know, and they were basically kind of asking me, well, if you can weave what you do into business. I was like, well, imagine a CEO that's at home and he or she is being gaslit constantly. How can he make the decisions he used to make that's going to move that company forward because he's sitting in a fog of doubt himself?
Yep.
Did that make sense?
Yes.
Did I explain it?
Yes. And I love the fact that you emphasize that it's a slow progression, because it's not just as simple as if we're in a relationship and you say, I bought apples at the store, and it's not just as simple as me going, no, you didn't, you're lying. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's twisting an event, and usually it's very specific to the relationship. It's not just, oh, I saw a blue car, no, you didn't. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I told you a month ago I had a doctor's appointment. No, you didn't. And now
Yeah.
you're expecting me to make up for your loss or mismanagement of time. I've got to cancel my
Mm-hmm.
plans because you weren't
Right.
responsible enough to, you know, keep us on schedule, or you didn't
Mm-hmm.
consider my wants and needs while you were
Mm-hmm.
making your plans, you know.
Brain shifting. Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
it's wild. It's wild. And especially with it being slow and progressive, the person, you feel like, you said, you feel like you're going crazy. Like, wait a
Yes.
minute, am I? And so eventually your brain starts putting these pieces together, and the only logical outcome is, well, it must be me. I, that's the only thing that makes sense
Yeah.
after a lot of time dealing with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild. Is there often, in your experience, physical abuse in a narcissistic relationship, or is it
Mhm.
come and go?
It depends. It depends. I think, first off, I just want to clarify one thing as far as my belief is. I believe
Mhm.
abuse is abuse. I don't think, mental abuse, there are so many people that just throw in the towel, I mean, as far as their existence on this planet, because they can't deal with what they're going through. Their mind just goes to a state of, well, why am I going through this? I am crazy, and
Mhm.
let me whatever. Um, but I think I think that there are times, most of the people that I've spoken to, most of the people, there'll be threats. There'll be threats because many narcissists, being predators, understand. Now, it can turn into that,
Mhm.
okay? But I think for the most part, most narcissists, being the predators that they are and wanting to get new supply, will avoid that, because you can't really get new supply in jail. Well, you
Mhm.
can, but
Right. Right.
they'll tend to want to look innocent
Mhm.
to everyone around them. It's easier for them to make you feel as if you have to lash out, because that protects their mask. They can say, hey, listen, I don't know why he or she just got up and started throwing stuff at me, this, that, and the other. That's the reactive abuse. So I don't know in every situation, but I think for most situations, especially with covert narcissists, maybe malignant narcissists, but as far as covert narcissists, they're never going to do anything that might get out to destroy their mask.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of people in these situations who downplay the psychological and emotional abuse because there's no physical abuse. They might say things like, oh, when talking about their relationship, well, yeah, it's not a good relationship. I'm not happy, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't hit me. Or
I've heard
but
that.
but she hasn't done anything like pull out a knife or a gun.
Right, right.
So, you know, so I think it's people
But you're
downplay it.
seeing a therapist every other day, and
Yeah,
you see nothing wrong with that.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it also leads to another important discussion, and that is support from friends and family, community. This is one of those areas where it's difficult for a person to get the support and help they need for a few different reasons. I'm just curious as to, from what you've seen, the people you've worked with, and even your own personal experience, why is it difficult to get the help and support you need in a narcissistic relationship?
I think the first thing is, well, there's many levels to it. I think the first thing is you have to accept as a person what you're going through, because shame creeps in. That's the first thing that comes in. I'm ashamed. I went through this for X amount of time. I should have known better. In fact, I just did a crazy video about that. I'm a New Yorker. I'm from Queens, New York originally. And, New York is, you can't get one over on us.
Yeah.
And I stayed a couple of times for years, and basically when you awaken, the first thing that creeps in is shame. You don't want to tell anybody, that, hey, I'm about to head over and seek professional help because this person has made me that-ish crazy, So there's a shame. Then there's the fact that people, as we've talked about before, if they've never been through it, they don't understand it. They don't. They just, they'll all just get over it. Oh, they're messed up in the head. You can just find someone else, this, that, and the other. But no, these wounds are deep. These wounds, I still have periods where I have to take deep breaths in the middle of the night because you start to remember, and besides the shame, once the narcissist knows that here comes the smear campaign. Here comes the smear campaign, because they can sense, like I said, they're predators. They can sense that just by your responses, how you now react to them. They're like, oh, the jig is up. Right. They know what I am. They need to protect that mask at all costs necessary. And so they'll start to smear you. And that's why I tell people it's so important that you reach out early. Once you come out of mask, you start reaching out to people that care about you, to people that love you. Seek professional help. Go find a coach. Go do something, okay? But start speaking your truth, because now it becomes, they're going to talk to everybody that they can, that will listen, and paint you as being the crazy one. And they usually started planting the seeds like before they were ready to discard you anyway. So, it's always important that, and especially for men, I think we're taught at an early age, hey, listen, when you get to, you find yourself in a bad situation, man up, put on your big boy boxers and go out there and forget about it. No, these scars are deep. You had someone that you believed that you was going to spend the rest of your life with. And this person, when you look back, you're like, why would anybody do something like this? And you, as a male, you suck it up, because it happens to men too. I'm a man, and I was ashamed at first. And then I said, no, again, the empath kicked in. I can't fix this person. Okay. This person is going to continue to do this, but I can help somebody else out of the fog. And just to circle back to the front of the ranch, that's where the now movement came,
Cool. Yeah, it's that the smear campaign. I think you made a good point that the narcissist is probably been planting seeds all along, because it's not just the person they're in the relationship with that, that's their main victim, so to speak. That's their main source of projection, but they do the same type of thing with coworkers and friends and other family members. They probably just don't do it as much because they can't get away with it as easily. Behind closed doors, it's a lot easier because they can say things and do things that other people don't know about and might not even believe. And when they plant those little seeds, like, they're at the family Thanksgiving meal and they start telling your family little things about you. Yeah, he's been off. He's been off lately. Yeah, I don't know if he's under a lot of stress, but he's like, acting weird. I'm doing the best I can to help them. I'm trying, and they always paint themselves as the hero of the story.
Yep.
Always.
Hero or victim.
Hero or victim.
There's no in between.
Yes, exactly right. Um, that leads me to another good question I thought about earlier. And I don't know this for sure, but you may have, in your experience, seen a little something different. Do you think there is a difference between a male or female experience in this, or male and female narcissists?
Uh, and as far as what, I'm sorry, because I think narcissist is not gender specific.
Okay.
I think and this is just my opinion,
Yeah.
but I think, the trait of narcissism is not like a female Black Widow spider or something to that extent. I think again, it's like Carl Jung said it. It's the shadow that they project, and it's something inside of them. So we just like we have male and female empaths. There's the other side of the coin. You're going to have male and female narcissists. I think that the male narcissists we kind of accept, especially the grandiose narcissists. We kind of accept that's the go-getter. That's the one that gets the job done. That's the CEO. That's the guy that throws down the expensive car keys on the bar. It's about ego. It's about constantly feeding the ego, and society accepts that, but we don't know what goes on in that person's relationship, how he treats his significant other, or I shouldn't say that, his victim. We don't know that. Whereas the female covert narcissist, she's really good at what she does, and there's covert males too, but she's really good at what she does because she plays off of the empathetic need. It feeds her ego, but there's something about her need to, or his need, let me correct that, his or her need to destroy the person that they actually admire. See, the narcissist admires you. That's why the relationship goes the way it does. That's why they go out of their way to say the right things. That's why they love bomb you. That's why they interrogate you. Doesn't feel like interrogation, but it is. They're trying to get as much information from you as possible because they have decided that, all right, you have all of the qualities that I wish I had. I'm going to mimic that until I finally realize that I'm not you. And then I'm going to go destroy you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. That's scary.
It is.
That's scary.
And they've hid under the radar for so long. I think in the last couple of years, narcissism has been a trending topic. But they've been around for as long as there's been relationships, as long as there's been empaths, as long as people have gone through problems in their life, there has been narcissists. We can just put a name to it. And now we have those 9 points that we can check off.
Right.
And then say, bingo, you hit 5, or in my case, you hit all 9. So yeah, I mean, it's scary. And Church of Real Talk is non-denominational. I'm just about positivity. I'm like one of those people that, hey, if I can motivate you through something I do, I won. I feel good about myself. The direction of Church of Real Talk really changed when I was like, I really can't see anybody else going through this. I can't see the frustration. I can't see the constantly going back, because that's what they depend on. They depend on the fact that you're going to try extra hard to fix them. They know that they're broken. They know exactly what they're doing, but they're depending on the fact that you, being the empath, you're going to keep on trying to fix me. And that's what makes it scary. And that's why it's almost, I guess it's not the right word, but spiritual in a sense. It's good versus evil. The empath actually being good.
Yeah. It's that seeking to balance the energy. And I think that goes back to something you said earlier in the conversation about how these two archetypes are drawn to each other. Because, like you said, the narcissist sees something in the empath that they desire, or that they're even jealous of. And they wish they were more like that, in a sense. And vice versa. The empath often in the narcissist sees a strength. sees a confidence, sees, and especially in the love bombing stage, sees this intensity that they're
Mm-hmm.
drawn to because
Yes.
of their previous experiences, whether it was childhood trauma and abuse or whatever. They feel that, not just that desire to help and cure and heal, but they feel that desire. Oh, I kind of wish I was a little bit stronger.
Mhm.
I kind of wish I
Yeah.
didn't care about everything that everybody says and does, you know. So
Mhm.
there's that like a battery, like the two ends of the battery or a magnet,
Yeah.
like two magnets.
Yeah.
There's an attraction there. Um, yeah, interesting, real interesting. What else? Is there anything
Right.
else that we tend to get wrong or misunderstand about this issue that we haven't
Uh,
already covered?
I think one of the things that we do get wrong, and I think, again, I just like devour everything from Carl Jung, is the contract. Um, I think empaths have things inside of them that they need to deal with.
Hmm.
Be it those traumas, we have to actually address these things in our life, just like anybody else that even has a small thing that's not making them be the best version of themselves. And I think what happens is it's almost like we sign a contract with the narcissist. It's almost like you said, hey, if you enhance my weaknesses, I'm just going to let you do what you need to do, because at the end of the day, I haven't been able to fully deal with the neglect. I haven't been able to fully deal with people betraying me. And it seems like you can handle that. So sometimes we have to deal with what's inside of us and stop just passing the contract around.
Mm,
You have to look at it that way.
that's powerful because you're looking for the healing that you need. So there's a lot more to it, a lot more to it than we tend to think of on the
Yeah.
surface. I read a quote on your website that I thought was extremely important for this conversation, and especially for people that might be empaths, might have been in a narcissistic relationship, might be in one now,
Mhm.
and they generally care and love the other person. But the quote I read said, it's okay to still love someone and still choose your peace.
Yes.
What does that mean for people, and how do they do that?
What part of healing is we already understand for the most part that we gave our all to our abuser. We did. And that's the thing that hurts the most once you start to see past their mask. It's like, I loved you. I would have given the world to you, and it's hard to deal with. It really is hard to deal with. But part of healing is understanding that, hey, you gave what was inside of you. That has nothing to do with them. Just because you have the capability to love, you shouldn't blame yourself for that. What we need to do now is we have to figure out a way how we can get through this. There are so many people in my life that, you know, I love on different levels. And some of us just don't get along. Usually it's family. I love the hell out of my family. That's my family. But there's certain people in my family that I can't, I guess I can't truly be myself. Okay. It causes conflict. Doesn't take away the love. I still have that love, that familial love. I have
Mhm,
that. But I have to utilize the things inside of me to ensure that I heal. You
mhm,
know, I I have a family. I'm not gonna say their name. I'm not gonna say their relation, but I don't speak to them. But if they call me and they say they're in distress or they need something, that's when the love kicks in. More than likely, we'll go back to, after we get through that fire drill, we'll go back to, hey, let's send me a Christmas card, wish me a happy birthday. But me and you, we don't talk like you
yeah,
know. And that,
I think we can all relate to that somehow.
yeah, yeah. So you have to find the tools, and the sad thing is the narcissist will pull, once they feel they're losing control, they, again, that interrogation, they know how to get you to react. They know how to feel a sense of control, and they'll just keep on until you build up that tool set where you can say, you know what, I'm not dealing with this right now. It has nothing to do with the price of rice in China, so I'm not going to deal with you right now. I'm going to continue to heal, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Walking away is hard. And you said this earlier, that it is hard. It's a hard, difficult process. And people, I think, I think that we think it should just be black and white, that it should just be yes or no. Okay, this is a bad situation. Okay, I'm out. And it's not that simple. It's not that simple when you care about the person, when you've, like you said earlier, you've seen your future with that person. You've planned on being with them long term, maybe for life even. And so, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wrap up, what's maybe one or two pointers for family members or friends of people that are in these relationships? What does genuine help look like? So not platitudes, but what practical, genuine care and help?
Don't judge anybody. Listen to what this person, if this person has trusted you to share their truth, listen. First of all, regular relationships are unique. So a person that's telling you, hey, listen, I feel a little broken, be there, listen to them. Sometimes that's all people want, is for someone to listen. They don't want your advice. They don't want you to tell them what to do. They don't want you to tell them what they should have done. Just listen. Use critical thinking, because the smear campaign is probably going to hit you too. Friends and family members, use critical thinking. Use your common sense. If you're being sold a bill of goods that doesn't sound right, at least confer with the other person. Say, hey, what's going on? And if you can't help, suggest, therapy. So there's nothing. See, I think this society thinks that this is not a good thing. It's actually a great thing. A coach, a therapist, somebody that can sit down, that's a professional, that understands. Yeah, there you go. Suggest it. Say, hey, listen, I'm not trying to call you crazy or nothing, but just go speak to someone that they actually get paid to do this. Your insurance covers it. Go speak to them. See what happens.
Yeah, awesome. Good advice. Good advice. Well, Lewis, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today and talk about this subject. It's so very important, and I think people involved in it, people going through it, need to know that they're not alone. It's not just you, and it happens to a lot of people, and that to take care of yourself, to focus on yourself and get the help that you need, so you don't stay stuck in that situation for years and years and years. For our listeners, what resonated with you the most? What questions do you still have? Let us know in the comments. You can find the links to Lewis's website and other resources in the description. Absolutely, 100%. Go check those out. If you're just interested in learning, he's got a lot of great information and resources on his site, and has the several different series and groups that provide help. And so definitely go check those out and follow him and reach out to him if you need to. For us, please subscribe, like, comment, and share to stay connected to this community of mental well-being as we all learn and grow together.